Francisco Coser is an award-winning Brazilian violinist that has been actively performing as a solo chamber and orchestral musician. Recently graduated with distinction in the Master of Arts at the Royal Academy of Music in the distinguished class of Professor Kun, Francisco started his studies in his hometown Santa Maria in the south of Brazil and soon started traveling to follow his dream and learn more and more the art of playing the violin. He did his bachelor in Chicago at the Chicago College of Performing Arts and has performed in Brazil, China, United States, Italy, and the UK. Francisco joins me on the Justice Show today. You're welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is the Just If Show, and I have a guest on the show today that I am in awe of because of what he does, and that's in the person of Francisco Coser. You're welcome to the show.
Thank you, Anthony.
Now, I know I'm going to sound like a broken record, but we have a ritual on this show where we go back to the beginning. What were your growing up years like?
So I started learning the violin without actually knowing what the instrument was.
That was about 7 or
7 years old, actually.
Wow.
So I always showed a huge interest in music, which took my parents to decide to take me to the music school in our hometown.
Where's that?
It's a small town in South Brazil, without much going on, to be honest. And they suggested to start with either the piano or the violin, and my sister, who was older, chose the piano first, and I went the other one. And then ever since that, I just loved the instrument right away.
Okay, so what schools did you go to, before you discovered that you could play?
So in Brazil, we just have regular school. We don't have anything like you have in the UK, for instance, music high school or something like that. It doesn't exist. So it's just regular.
Just went to regular schools.
Yeah.
Okay, and your siblings, how many are there?
I have two. Yes.
Oh, bless. So did you get up to all those sibling pranks, being naughty
Of course. Up until these days, actually.
Really? Naughty you. Okay, so at what point did you decide that you were going to come to the UK?
The UK was actually just by chance. I always, ever since I was 15 years old, I decided that I wanted to study music, but also wanted to study abroad from Brazil because the scene in Brazil is still very young, even though that sounds weird for classical music, but it's underdeveloped considering the situation in the US and the UK or Europe. So I first went to my undergrad in Chicago, which for that I met my teacher in a music festival in Brazil that he came to just give a couple lessons, and he ended up inviting me to study with him. And at the end of the course, I was deciding where I wanted to do my master's, and I applied to a couple schools in the US, and I decided why not try a big name school, which the one I chose was the Royal Academy of Music in London. And after I did the audition, I passed and also got a scholarship.
I read that and you were so excited about that. Yeah, that's interesting. But let me just take you back a little bit. Now, this is a bit strange for me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you said you started playing before you even knew what the violin was.
Yes.
Did you get any inspiration? Was there anybody you saw that played any instrument at all, not necessarily the violin? Growing up, before you picked on this.
I wouldn't say actually seen anyone playing. It's just my father is a sound engineer himself.
Okay.
So I always grew up with music at home, and we're a very eclectic bunch at home. So my sister likes one style of music, my brother likes a completely different style, and my parents are also completely different. But so I grew up with always listening to all sorts of different types of music.
The reason I ask is because classical music is not something anywhere in the world that a young child will just pick up and say, oh, that's it. Most of them just want to, to do the regular thing that young folks will be doing. Yeah. So I'm quite intrigued to know, why classical music?
As I said before, I didn't even know the violin, so I was also not very familiar with classical music when I started. And have you heard about Suzuki method?
I think I have heard about it.
Okay. It's a method created by a Japanese man. He was called Shinichi Suzuki. And it's all about teaching music as a second language to kids instead of playing an instrument or something like that. So it's more trying to approach it as a language rather than learning an instrument. And the school that my parents took us to start learning instruments, they suggest we start with it because it makes it more approachable. And it's just the courses that they had to offer was both piano and violin. And then ever since, I loved the instrument when I first touched it, basically. And then I started researching more about the world and listening more and more to classical music, which was something quite new at home, actually. And it's just, ever since I loved it.
Okay, we're going to take a break now. When we come back, you'll be telling us what you've done since you came over to the UK.
Okay.
It's still the Justice Show. We'll be back in a jiffy.
So that meant that from 11 until 16, I would travel every week.
Wow.
Take a bus for 4 hours, have a 2 hours lesson, come back because I had school the next day at home.
You're welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is the Justice Show, and I still have my guest today, Francesco Coser, who is a violinist, which is extremely strange to me, I must say. Okay, now let's now your journey from America to the UK. You also had been in China for a bit.
I went to a music festival in China.
Okay, went to a music festival.
Was there for a month in 2012.
Okay, now you're graduating.
I'm finishing my master's at the Royal Academy right now.
Okay, you're finishing. What have you done in between that? How has the journey been, from studying all this?
Well, here in the UK it has been very good actually. Plenty of opportunities because London has a huge classical music scene. Every day there are at least 2 or 3 concerts going on basically, so you can always find something to do basically.
So you have been part of orchestras and
I have been playing in several freelance orchestras around. Also inside Academy I did a concerto competition in my first year, so last year, and a solo violin competition this year, and in both of them I won prizes here.
Wow, congrats.
Thank you. Which was very nice, and I love my time here.
Okay,
Really.
now I understand that you normally go back and forth for lessons.
Yes.
Yes. So tell us about that.
So when I was a child, as I said, I started when I was 7. By the time I was 10 or 11, I can't remember precisely right now. My teacher in my hometown noticed that I had a large amount of talent, and he decided to put me in touch with who had been his teacher during his undergrad. And this person, Marcelo Gershfeld, he has been very important for me because I met him when I was 10 or 11, and he invited me to have lessons with him. which I did. But for that, he lives in the capital of my state, Porto Alegre, which is about 300 kilometers away from my hometown, Santa Maria. So that meant that from 11 until 16, I would travel every week.
Wow.
Take a bus for 4 hours, have a 2 hours lesson, come back, because I had school the next day at home.
Could you say that again? You know why I want you to say that again? If because a lot of young people today think that success is handed to you.
Oh yeah.
So I'd like you to say what you said again. At from age what?
11.
11 to about 16.
Until 16.
You were traveling. You were making
Back and
an
forth.
8-hour journey, 4 hours to and fro.
Yes. For a 2 hours.
For a 2-hour lesson,
Yes.
just so that you could be able to get to school the next day.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well done.
And thank you. And at 16, I said until 16 because at 16 I actually moved away from
Home.
my parents' house and moved to Porto Alegre so I could intensify the studies until, because I already had the idea of going abroad to study, so I knew that I needed to being able to focus more, and just the time wasted in traveling and everything was too much.
Fantastic. Now, coming here, you have to study, and then I guess to improve yourself, you look for gigs that you can take part in.
Yes.
So how do you go about that?
It's just by people you meet, actually.
Networking.
Yes, exactly. Most of the things that I got were for friends who were also at academy and have been here for longer, and they just listen to how I play and then they offer me something. Or we also have a system that anyone outside can just send an email to the respective department at the school, and they would just forward it to them. Like they can say, oh, we need 4 violins for this orchestral concert. It's on this day and this at the rehearsal dates, and they just send an email for every single violinist at the school. And whoever answers first gets it. So we live our time just looking at the phone the whole time.
I can imagine that. Your parents must be really, really proud of you. When they see you, how do they receive you?
Well, I believe they are proud, but they miss me a lot.
Oh, bless.
Yeah.
You happen to be very lucky, because in Africa, where I come from, I wouldn't open my mouth and say, oh, I want to play an instrument.
Okay.
It will have to be school.
Yes.
School, and more school. When I was growing up, it's either you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, an engineer. It was absurd. Even me, that I'm a broadcaster, it was like, what are you talking about, you know? But I guess it's something that we should do, follow our dreams.
No, yes, definitely. We should always follow our dreams. And as you said, in Brazil, it's not extremely common. And even school, they're now starting to offer music in school again, which didn't happen since the 80s or even before. Which is also one of the reasons that it didn't grow for such a long time. And it's quite hard to do music in Brazil, to be honest. It's all centralized in São Paulo. São Paulo has a huge scene, and Rio as well. But the country is huge, and just those 3 towns are not enough.
And correct me if I'm wrong, there's a lot of samba in Brazil, so that's why I'm like, he's playing the violin. That's not the kind of music that I know that I would associate with Brazil. But let me ask you, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
Ooh, that's a tough question. In the next 5 years, I don't know exactly. It depends on several things. My initial plan was to get an Italian passport, which I can have through my family, and then to come back here for a doctorate. But now with Brexit, I don't really know if that's going to actually work or not.
Don't give up.
So,
never give up.
You
never know.
Definitely.
You never
So
know.
I'll be trying everything possible, and maybe other places as well. I do know that in the future, maybe after I've had some experience working in Europe or UK, wherever I can find work, to be honest, I do want to go back to Brazil and teach there and try to help grow the scene as much as possible. But
Okay.
that's more than 5 years.
It's all part of the journey. Okay,
Yeah.
now look into that camera,
Yeah.
right, and tell something. Just say anything to the young ones that what life is about. Something that would inspire them. Anything.
Okay.
Yeah, look in there.
It's always hard to say what life is about, but as you mentioned before, I would say that we should always follow our dreams. It doesn't matter what they are, and just be yourself and be confident with who you are.
I guess that's amazing. Now, we do give our guests a challenge, but I guess playing the violin is not going to be a challenge for you. So I'm going to ask you to kindly let's hear what you can do.
Okay.
You want to stand up?
Sure.
All right.
That's a little bit better for playing.
Okay then.
I'll play Bach's a movement from Bach, Third Violin Sonata in C major,
Now that I know what that is.
which is the name of the movement is Largo.
Okay, so let's hear it. I've been trying to hold back my tears. That was amazing. Well done.
Thank you.
Now I feel quite inadequate now. Unfortunately, time is never our friend on this show. I've had so much fun talking to you today, and thank you so much for for coming on the show. In 5 years' time, we'll invite you back
Okay.
to tell us where you are at now.
Definitely.
Thank you so much. Well, that's our show for today. I've had so much fun, honestly. I felt like crying listening to that. And we're going to do this again sometime soon. Till then, take care, God bless, and goodbye. Now, I saw how you, it always has to be like that.
Yes.
Okay, so I do that.
Okay.
Do I have to stand up?
So, let me show this. So
Oh, no.
you hold, just like, I have a way, like, so you hold with your right hand here,
Okay.
and then all you need to do is your head tilt a little bit left, and then you just let it rest. Like, don't force it. No, okay, do this. So that's called a chin rest. So your chin goes in there, and then drop your hand as normal as possible. Don't change your fingers or anything. Just as if you were walking.
Okay.
And then just so raise your arm like that, and it still should be. Don't move anything in your fingers, and then your thumb goes in there, and then the only thing, your pinky goes on this stick. Then try to rest it there. Of course, there is much more, like, to control it a little bit better if you do it this way. Yeah.
Okay, I'm actually going to learn this. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm going to learn how to do that now. Can I come for lessons? Where do we start?